In this video, we're going to be mounting the tail light, the license plate mount, and also the rear turn signals. It only requires a few simple hand tools. We're going to have a 10mm socket, a 12mm socket, a 5.5mm socket, 10mm wrench, 14mm wrench. If you don't have the 5.5mm socket, you might use some needle nose pliers, number 2 Phillips, and also we're going to add a little Loctite. The first thing we want to do is remove the seat. We're going to use a 12mm socket to do that. This will give us access to the wiring. Under the seat, we have access to the wiring. You'll notice that the turn signals are already connected, but I will verify that they're color coordinated. And then we have the tail light wiring that we're going to be using, these bullet connectors. You can also make sure that these are firmly connected. Now we're ready to route the wiring and install that tail light. Now we're ready to mount the rear turn signals. We're just going to use that 14mm wrench to tighten the nut that's on the inside of that bracket. We're also going to verify that the wiring that goes underneath that fender is not loose and hanging down, that it's pulled taut. We want to make sure that the tail light wiring and the turn signal wiring is securely fastened under the tabs that are mounted on the bottom of the fender. This will prevent wires from drooping down and getting cut by the tire. We're also going to add a little zip tie on the top of the fender just to kind of hold all those wires in a bundle and to keep them from moving around. Now we're ready to turn our attention to the tail light. We're going to mount the tail light onto its bracket first. We're going to be using the 5.5mm socket. This is where, if you don't have one, you could use some needle nose pliers. These fasteners include the 5mm or 5.5mm cap nut, and then also a Phillips screw on the screw side. We're going to add a dab of red Loctite on these just to help keep things secure, because you don't want to over tighten these. You will crack that tail light. Now we're installing the washer and then the lock washer. A little dab of that red Loctite, and finally the cap nut. Now we're ready to mount the tail light and license plate bracket. You'll note that the license plate bracket goes on top of the tail light bracket. We're going to feed the wire through the fender. Once we get that mounted in place, we'll put the lock nut on the back side. Then we're going to tighten that down with a 10mm socket and 10mm wrench. Now we're going to tighten that down with a 12mm wrench and a 10mm socket. Now we're going to feed that tail light wire through and make sure that it gets securely fastened under the tab on the bottom of the fender. Now we're ready to route the tail light wires to the bullet connectors. You'll note that we're going to put green to green, the green with the yellow stripe to the green with yellow stripe, and then the brown tail light wire to the black connector. Make sure those are securely fastened, and then we're going to zip tie that wire bundle just to kind of hold it up in the fender. Now we're ready to install the battery. The first thing we're going to do is remove the right side panel, pulling on the top corners gently to pull the pegs out. Now we see the red wire and the black and green ground wire. So we'll go ahead and put the battery in the compartment, pull those out of the way, and we'll use the hardware that comes with the battery, and a number 2 Phillips screwdriver and or a 10mm wrench. Of course, we want the red wire going to the positive battery terminal. And it is important that these wires get fastened securely. You're going to want to test them by moving them around. Make sure they're not sliding within the mount. And the final part of the battery install is going to be to put the strap around the front just to hold it secure in that compartment. And you'll notice that there is a section of that battery strap where the fuse can be tucked in.